In popular culture, the tarot belongs to the realm of neon storefront signs and carnival fortune tellers. These cards are primarily associated with the prediction of future events, marriage, wealth, or misfortune. Oswald Wirth and the Western Hermetic tradition view this grid of symbols as a sophisticated visual language. The deck functions as an interconnected cipher designed to communicate spiritual and psychological principles through a specific sequential structure. This medieval manuscript depicts the practical laboratory of the alchemist. While history often portrays these figures as obsessed with turning lead into gold, the core of their great work, or magnum opus, was the refinement of the human mind. They used the physical processes of the furnace as a metaphor for transforming chaotic consciousness. This symbol chart details the vocabulary of the alchemical process.
Just as a chemist follows a series of precise operations to purify a substance, the Hermetic tradition suggests the human psyche must undergo a structured reaction to achieve mastery. This exact sequence is encoded in the first 7 cards of the tarot. These cards function as a working manual for the reorganization of the self. They track the shift from instinctive reaction to conscious, directed existence. The journey begins with card 0, the Fool. In alchemy, this is the prima materia, the raw, unrefined substance of the self. It represents a state of total potential, existing in a formless and chaotic state before the work of transformation begins. The Fool's imagery underscores this unrefined state. He carries a bundle of psychological baggage and is hounded by a dog, a symbol of basic instinct. This is the human condition in its default state, wandering without direction, driven by impulses he has not yet learned to understand. Processing this raw material requires a sudden, active catalyst of conscious will. This is card 1, the Magician. He represents the moment an individual decides to take authority over their own mental state. The magician stands before a table of tools, pointing one hand towards the sky and the other towards the earth. This gesture mirrors the alchemical act of separation. He is beginning to organize the Fool's chaos into distinct, workable elements of thought and action. This active organization is followed by a period of necessary gestation. Card 2, the High Priestess, represents the passive side of the transformation. Her veil, book, and lunar symbols point to the incubation of hidden wisdom. While the magician acts, the priestess waits. She represents the unconscious mind quietly processing the initial spark of consciousness, allowing new insights to take root away from the distractions of the outside world. This first phase successfully divides human potential into 2 distinct poles, conscious action and unconscious reflection. The mind is now prepared to grow into a more stable structure. That growth manifests in card 3, the Empress. She represents fertile generation, the stage where the ideas incubated by the priestess begin to take physical shape and grow. This is the expansion of the intellect and the birth of creative power. Expansion must be balanced by order. Card 4, the Emperor, represents the alchemical operation of fixing the volatile. He imposes boundaries and stabilization on the Empress's creativity, providing the discipline and structure required to prevent new growth from collapsing back into chaos. With structure established, the energy of the initiate is aligned with broader principles through card 5, the Hierophant. This card depicts the transmission of sacred knowledge, showing how individual willpower must be harmonized with universal laws and spiritual authority. This alignment leads to the critical operation of conjunction, visualized in card 6, the Lovers. In the alchemical tradition, this chemical marriage is shown as the union of the sun and the moon. It depicts the reconciliation of opposing internal forces, the blending of sulfur and mercury. This union occurs within the central vessel, integrating the psyche. By resolving these internal dualities, the initiate neutralizes the psychological friction that previously held them back. The internal conflict is replaced by a unified purpose. True psychological advancement depends on this internal harmonization. It is the result of both building a solid mental structure and learning to balance the contrasting forces within the human heart. This integration culminates in card 7, the Chariot. It represents the first successful cycle of the great work and the first victory of the conscious mind over its own nature. The charioteer masters two opposing forces, often depicted as contrasting sphinxes, pulling in different directions. Because of the integration achieved in the previous cards, he is now able to direct these forces toward a single destination. The undirected wandering of the fool has been replaced by a vehicle of directed willpower. The initiate has learned to steer their own psychic energy with precision, moving forward by choice rather than by instinct. As Oswald Wirth observed, this sequence from card 0 to 7 is a functional system. It demonstrates that the tarot is not a collection of random moral lessons, but a step-by-step process for spiritual awakening. Alchemy survives within these symbols, reminding us that the goal of the work is not the creation of physical wealth. The spiritual gold of the Hermetic tradition is the realization of a unified, self-governing human being.